the road to Halloween Ends. We are headed that way. Today we're going to be talking about what's known as the Thorn Trilogy, 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to throw a little bit of information of 3 in there just because it leads into 4. I'll be covering most of 4 and 5, and then Caleb's going to crush both parts of 6, and then Caleb's going to help me out if I drop the ball anywhere in 4 or 5, and I doubt Caleb's going to drop the ball at all on 6 because he knows the movie very well. But well, let's just go ahead and let's just jump right into it. So Halloween 3 came out. It had a budget of $2.5 million, and it made $14 million. So
that's not bad.
It's not bad, but it was a financial success, but it was a critical failure. Like, critics and audiences really didn't like it. They were frustrated because of Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. They kind of lazily did that and kind of misled people a little bit. So even though it was a success, I think they took it on the chin pretty hard. That nobody wanted a Halloween 4, Season of the Witch kind of thing. So the 10-year anniversary was coming up, and they really wanted to do another movie. So they contacted Jamie Lee Curtis, and she said no. She opted to go with A Fish Called Wanda, which, if you haven't seen it, it's a really good comedy. If you haven't seen it, hang on. H6 started with the baby.
Both cats do.
Yeah. Well, it's the narration that separates them, so she passed on it. So they were looking for child actors. But how it also got started was Halloween, the franchise was sold to Canon Pictures, which did really well with 1986's Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And they, for a split second, they contacted John Carpenter and said, "What do you think about a Leatherface versus Michael Myers?" And he instantly said, no, not doing that, no. And so after a little while, they were trying to sell their rights. No major studio wanted them. John Carpenter did write a little bit of a screenplay with another writer, and it was more about Michael Myers, 10 years, Halloween's not around, Haddonfield anymore. And then they start talking about Michael Myers, and he becomes kind of a spiritual entity. Mustafa Akkad didn't like that. So for the most part, John Carpenter and Deborah Hill sold their rights to Mustafa Akkad, and everything would be back under Compass International, which was the first studio from the first Halloween. So they would go on to try to find a director. John Carpenter initially wanted Joe Dante from Gremlins to direct it. I'm not really sure where that thought was. He also wanted him to direct Halloween 3. So I think he just loved the guy and just saw potential in him. But I don't know. It's very weird. But they eventually would go to Alan McElroy, who would write the screenplay. And surprisingly enough, most of his story was actually shot, which really doesn't happen a whole lot in Hollywood, from what he would say. So, and then from there, they would go on to get Dwight H. Little to do the score. He did Halloween 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So he's a huge part of this franchise. Taking what John Carpenter did and then putting his own stamp on it. And he really put his own stamp on this part right here. This would see a different opening that we'd seen before with H1, 2, and 3, it sets a tone, it sets an atmosphere, but I prefer the pumpkin. I just prefer classic, but I wouldn't say it's bad. So from there they had to find a child actor. And they went, and it ended up being between Danielle Harris, who had done a couple little things, and then what's her name from Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and they ended up going with Danielle Harris, who does a phenomenal job throughout the entire movie. It's so Alan McElroy, when he wrote the story, he had 11 days because the Writers Guild of America was about to go on strike. And right at the 11th hour, he handed in the script, and then they went on strike. And it's a good thing he got it through, because that was 155 days of a writer's strike. It's the longest writer's strike in history to this day, I believe. So it's pretty cool how, I know the original Halloween was written and shot very quickly. This is also written and shot very quickly to capitalize on the 10 years and everything else. They were able to get Donald Pleasance again, He wasn't really sold on it until he read the script. He was on board, and away they went. I like the beginning. Originally, they intended to shoot Loomis and Michael going through a wall and then being extinguished and stuff like that. Would kind of fill in a few more gaps, but they decided to rush through that. Since they had to pass on Jamie Lee Curtis, they go into both parents died in a car accident. I'm not really sure you needed to kill off both parents. I think it would have been kind of interesting to see her with a dad, maybe. Just like if you would have been able to get Jimmy back, it would have given you a little bit more connective tissue to the second movie. The director themselves, like the director and the producer, both said they wanted to go back to the original movie where they have the burns on both characters, but they only really wanted to focus on the first movie. So they know the second movie happened, but they really glide past it, and that was part of the gliding past it. Michael Myers would be originally portrayed by Tom Morga and then replaced by George P. Wilbur. For basically what it came down to was they just didn't like Tom Morga's portrayal of the Shape, and it was there was an issue with the eye holes in the mask. They wanted to widen the mask, and then they wanted to glue in felt black things so you can't see his eyes. And the I can't remember, the person on set basically was like, you can't do that, it'll make him pass out, like it's not safe. And so Tom Morga got upset, that guy got upset, that dude got fired. Fangoria guy magazine was there shooting coverage of the movie, and he found out that they were fired, and he went back and he said, if you don't hire him back, I will not have any kind of media coverage on H4. And so they went back and they hired, I believe it was Dwight. I believe it was Dwight H. Little. I could be wrong on that. But they unfortunately did not hire back Tom Morga, who I thought did a great job. Tom Morga is the bandaged Michael Myers. And then he is the, which part is it? There's a scene where Michael Myers sits up out of the rocker chair in the house, in the Meeker house. But anyway, I thought he did a great job. I love the bandage look. I prefer the bandage look over the H4 mask. The H4 mask was its own problems. They had a shipment of masks. They came in pink with white hair, and they had to repaint it and repaint the hair. And that's kind of where some of the problems are. The paint was so thick on the mask that it lost kind of all of its detail. They didn't do as much shadowing. They opened up the eyes, and they didn't tease the hair as much as it was in the original Halloween, which bugs me to death.
I still have to say, for the story that they give this mask, it's more forgivable. You see him grab it off the shelf.
Yeah.
It's a store-bought, and anybody who's walked through a store and looked at store Michael Myers masks, that's not far off. Like, there's some pretty bad quality ones. So as much as I'm not a fan of the H4 mask, I am very forgiving because it makes sense. It's logical.
The problem with that, and that's also Tom Morga in that scene where he grabs the mask, that's Tom Morga as well.
Yep.
But the problem with that, though, is the original Halloween mask was taken from a hardware store. So, like, unless this is a copy of, like, say that was a special Goofy mask, and then now they're making Michael Myers mask, I will buy that.
But that first mask wasn't really shown in great quality until we got DVD. Before then, we kind of saw the white, a little bit of shading, and then screen grabs is all we really had. Because, you know, your VHS copy is not going to do it justice. Now, once we were able to enhance it and enhance the screen grabs, you can see all of the detail there. So, again, I mean, even with Trick or Treat Studios masks, you can get one really good copy out of 300 really awful copies.
That's true.
It's just the way it is.
It's sad when you got to buy them and then pay somebody else to rehaul them.
Yeah. But, I mean, like, the Resurrection mask is very serviceable. I did a very, very minimal amount of work outside of rehairing it. It's all right. I'm satisfied. But, no, I'm forgiving of the H4 mask because of that.
Yep.
And I also do like the H4 coveralls, that pinstripe that shows the detail a little bit more. That looks like the old railroad style jumpsuit. There's a fine pinstripe. I think they're red cap. I know too much. I'm sorry.
No,
I can't remember the not part number. Good Lord. The you know, the code, how like every item of clothing has its own product code. I can't remember its product code, but it's it's really sought after in the Michael Myers cosplay and collector community to get originals. There's some that are made today that are fairly close, that are pretty cheap, but getting some of those originals or some of the originals from H1 really hard. Thank you, thank you. Yes, skew. Thank you. Words with friends. Words.
That's
So yeah.
awesome. Deb said
Uh,
that she loved Danielle Harris. Much more interested in this movie with her over Jamie Lee Curtis. That's very interesting. So going on that
mm,
as even as a kid, and real quick, I'll get back on some other things, but even as a kid, there were a couple things that really stuck out to me that felt very dollar store of Halloween 4, and I really when I was trying to put that into my thoughts and how I was going to express that. One of them is the mask. It just doesn't look as good as the first movie. It doesn't. It's not as bad as everybody says, but it's not good. The other thing is the huge shift, and you couldn't get Jamie Lee Curtis, so you shift to a kid, and you go from Michael Myers killing like almost adults to old teenagers to now he's chasing down an 8-year-old. Like
yeah.
it's that flow, and it's that you can feel it in the writing. You know she didn't want to come back. As soon as you know that, you understand that this was written because of what they had to work with, which is fine. But I would have rather had them recast than do that, which they would
I
eventually
stand
do.
I stand by the fact that if they would have wanted to go back to the first movie a little bit more, they could have erased the family angle there. Like it really could have been done, and people probably wouldn't have blinked an eye. Like it just became so solidified with Halloween 4 that it's a staple of the franchise until 2018 tries to redo that. Um, so I think I'm okay with it because I was raised with this quote unquote Thorn trilogy. Halloween 6 and Halloween 4 are two of my most viewed Halloween films. They just are. I think Halloween 4 is one of the first DVDs I bought. It is autographed by Danielle Harris, sitting right there. The limited edition steel case DVD. Um, yeah,
But
so it's not. I mean, there's worse writing. I mean, come on, come on. You see what that is? That's Jason X. Come on.
yeah. So Matt said I've been informed they ruined it in 5, not 6. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen too many movies in the Halloween in the past couple weeks. Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. No, so another thing about searching about what makes it different between 1 and 2 and 4. For me, if you watch 1 and 2, 1 there are some daytime shots. If you see Loomis when he's talking over the phone, but when it switches over to the girls, it gets a little darker, right? It feels kind of cloudy. It feels fall. This movie's a lot more bright. And in the first 2 movies, you got Michael at a distance. It's always keeping him at a distance, so you don't get a really good shot of the mask until later on in the movie. It's that building of threat, building of tension. In the second movie, it's all at night. So Michael is always in darkness for the most part. He's in a couple lit shots, but the mask is darker, and it kind of helps those lit shots. In this movie, in 4, it is bright white, and it really like in the darkness, it doesn't look too bad. But when it is like the Bucky scene, or the let's see, what's the other scene I'm thinking of? Well, there's some other scenes, but the Bucky scene's like the absolute 100% worst. The one where he sits up in the bedroom's not too bad when the lightning's going off, but the Bucky scene's absolutely terrible. And the hockey pads that George P. Wilbur put on there to make himself look bigger and more of a threat, absolutely terrible. I hate him so much. But the biggest thing that is the jarring quality for me is that Halloween 1 and 2 were shot in a 235 aspect ratio, widescreen. 4 and 5, and I believe 6, they were all shot in 185. So it goes full frame. And if you look, John Carpenter's 78 and then 81, they have a lot of wide shots, especially in 78. In this movie, the shots are very tight. Like the atmosphere is good, like with the fog and stuff like that, with the multiple Michaels and things like that. But a lot of the shots are very, very tight. So that's something I've really zoned in on, is the why is that? And I had to do a little digging and figure out. I think the biggest thing is the aspect ratio that really drops in quality. It's a lot of daytime, and the difference in aspect ratio. But I mean, other than that, moving on.
I think that being in the daytime shift with Halloween 4, 5, and 6 is also something that you see a shift in horror in general in the late 80s. You've got the Child's Play movies, which, I mean, a lot of those films take place in the daytime. The later Friday the 13th movies have more daytime shots, not necessarily with Jason, but they do have daytime shots. Even A Nightmare on Elm Street wasn't afraid to toss in some daytime shots here and there. So I think they just kind of capitalized on what was selling at the moment without paying attention to quality. With the aspect ratio, now that you say that, I can definitely see it. Like I can picture that issue. Halloween 1 and 2 definitely had a much better angle for every single shot than 4, 5, and 6 did. That's just true. But I think it was kind of a shots of the time. Like, if you go to late 80s horror movies, it looks like other late 80s horror movies. They look like they were spit out by the same studio, similar directors. It just... And that's not saying it's necessarily a bad thing. It's just saying it feels like it was the time.
Yeah. Matt says, am I alone in the fact that I really haven't liked Loomis in any movies? I feel like Donald Pleasance overacts his roles. He's kind of a Shakespearean actor. I buy his roles because he, up until about the middle of the fourth movie, nobody believes him, like, ever. Like, in the second movie, they're kind of pissed off at him, and they kind of keep him around, but he's desperate for people to understand. You know, he's like, 6 bodies, Sheriff. A gas station in flames, like, between here and blah, blah, like, you know, he's always... I think he does a great job of, like, listen, I'm about to lose my mind, listen to me. Like, the jumpy with the gun, and the speech of staring at a wall, looking past the wall, like, inhumanly patient. Like, I think it's phenomenal. I do think there are some where, in the fifth movie, he's like, right, like, it does get a little much in the fifth movie. But I can't get on board with the rest of it, man. He's awesome.
The fifth movie, towards the end, is my favorite Loomis performance.
Yeah?
Not the beginning segments, but towards the end, Loomis is at his greatest. He's a man who's lost everything, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to end it, including using a child as bait. And that is so far out of character for Loomis that it works. Like, sometimes those big jumps don't work. It really works for his character because it's done. It's over. He's broken. He's toast.
I will say that without Donald Pleasance, though, this movie falls on its face because it needed some connective tissue. Now, Ellie Cornell is great. Danielle Harris is great. They were both, especially Danielle Harris for her age, one of the best child actors of all time. Ellie Cornell with Rachel, a great final gal. I don't know about all time. She didn't make my top 10, but a great final gal. Sorry. I didn't like his reaction to the hospital with yelling at Jamie. Yeah, it's a lot, but it is it is a breakdown of the character. I do kind of like that he's just like, you can feel he's like a raging alcoholic, that he's probably not even really like licensed anymore, probably. Like, yeah.
He makes me think that Detective Tapp from Saw was kind of based on this H4, H5, H6, not so much H6, but the H4, H5 Loomis. Like, just that kind of, I've lost my credentials, I've lost my actual social notoriety, but I am focused on finding the evil, and it really works.
Donald Pleasance say he hated his character in 5. Yeah, but he also said that he didn't care because he was done. They intended to kill him off at the end of 5. He has a stroke and dies on top of Michael, but we will get there. So for Halloween 5, like I said, with the new characters, they do a good job. I like the multiple Michaels in the streets. You know what I'm saying? That like, he's everywhere. I thought that would be cool for like Halloween Ends, that there was kind of a cult, but they were like dressing up like Michael Myers and using like people from all around the world or wherever were coming to Haddonfield to kill and to blame Michael Myers for it. And that, like, that would be sweet having Michael Myers take them out also. But anyway, I just love that scene. The fog is great where like she loses Jamie and she's got to find her and stuff like that. There's some really good atmosphere in this movie. You can tell everybody had a blast doing it. The rooftop scene is great. I like the also the police scene where he tears apart the police station and one of the police officers' arm is just removed. And like the famous line of you don't have a police force, like it's so good. And then so when you get to the house, which is the final act, Michael goes from the police station in the trunk, gets dropped off by them. They're sealing up the house. Cops do it by the book. Phenomenal. So then you have that scene. That's a Tom Morgan in the chair right there. And then it's the end scene was supposed to be Sheriff Meeker is in the basement with Michael. They're fighting, and then they're supposed to like knock over a candle or something like that, and it's supposed to light the house on fire. And that end scene when they go up to the roof, the whole house was supposed to be on fire, and then they were supposed to jump off from there. But the shotgun through the torso is pretty awesome. You look over and you see that cop in the corner. He's just all bent in half, and I think his head's removed. It's hard to tell. Then you got Michael going up the steps in like that huge window shot that looks like Michael Keaton sitting there waiting for the bat signal. Picks up Grady and just snaps his neck. It's just that scene is probably my favorite in the entire movie. Just the claustrophobic of the house. I don't know, and like you're seeing Michael, but you can't stop him. And then, but then it gets a little silly. They go to the school. Michael grabs Loomis and throws him out with a pink mask and white hair because they said they were so tired that they made a mistake. And I'm like, okay, but whoever was wearing that mask should have known. I understand it might be a little dark, but whoever was wearing the mask should have known it's the wrong mask. I don't understand.
I don't either.
And then just going off from there
somebody had to edit that footage. That's what gets me the most. Like, not only that, somebody edited it and went, that's fine.
Well, they said they didn't have money or time to go back and reshoot it, so they had to leave it in. And I can't remember, but I believe the editor, I believe it was one of the last movies he worked on. He's pretty upset about it. Real quick, hang on.
Brady deserved it.
Man, yeah. I'm telling you, Rachel's a 7.5, and Meeker's daughter, Kelly Meeker, she's a 9. She's a solid 9. Anyway, after that, we got the truck that pulls up. It's got the rednecks on it after they already shot old Ted Hollister. And then, like, there is no, like, so they go out the front door, the truck is here, and then somehow magically Michael just gets underneath the truck, and then while they're, like, driving along, Michael gets up on there, and then, like, ninja takes out all of them. Like, when you watch that scene, dude, it's so bad. It is so bad the way he's like yoink, stab in the, like, he just feels like,
of course,
hate it.
Of course. Okay.
Oh, you would, Jason.
The truck scene is iconic for the wrong reasons. Okay. So is it cool that they were able to pull off an action style scene in a horror movie? Debatable. Is it cool that Michael Myers gets to go to another location by creating one of the first Ubers? Debatable. Is it cool that Michael Myers gets hit with the truck? Not really. But it was a unique ending to a Halloween movie. Up until that point, like, there wasn't anything that kind of wild and kooky. Him on the roof scene was kind of enough. Like, you're like, I think once the roof scene hits, personally, this is just me, I feel like it's a little too goofy because why? I think, fun to watch, but frustrating decisions made with that truck scene. Yes, yeah. I'm frustrated at the decisions that led us to the roof and then led us to the truck and then it's like, oh my God, all of you people, how do you tie your shoes? So while it's entertaining, it it's about the same logic as the later Fast and the Furious films. Just because we can do it doesn't mean we should.
100%.
That said, still one of the best sequels.
I mean, I don't know. I would have rather the house been on fire, like they drop from the roof, right? Michael goes down. He doesn't jump off the roof. Michael goes down. He's at the front door, and right when he's at the front door, you see Jamie trying to shake Rachel. She's knocked out. And then right at that time, the cops show up right there and just unload him into the burning house. And then you have Michael getting shot, falling back into the burning house. End of movie. You can pick up later from there that he only got clipped a few times and disappeared out the back door. But that would have been a dope ending to just shoot him in the back of the house, and then the house just caught up in flames. But so anyway, they keep going. I will say though, the hand to the throat was awesome. That scene right there is pretty sick. And then you got Rachel driving, and he's like yanking at the clothes, and she's freaking out. That was that little 2-minute scene is fantastic.
I have to rewind a little bit. I have to rewind a little bit to the thumb smash into the forehead and the opening. That is one of the coolest Myers kills. Don't care. It's great.
It's funny because the reason they did that scene, that's actually a reshoot, and the neck, I believe, is also a reshoot. They reshot those because in the beginning of the movie, Mustafa didn't want a lot of blood, so he kept trying to go back to the first movie. But by the end of the movie, he was screaming more blood, so they went back and they reshot a few scenes, and that was one of them, the thumb through the forehead. Yeah. And real quick, I do want to mention Reverend Sarah too, where it's like they pick up, they're drinking booze together. You're hunted, ain't you? And then Loomis gets that little smile, that phenomenal little grin. And then it'll end at the river. The song that's going on right there. It's kind of a cool little pick up to 5. Not that was probably intentional, but hang on. We had an ending already with him in the flames. We wanted something new, but the combat shotguns, the bore, I get it that the flames has already been done, but it gets done again. So and again.
I did want another Reverend scene. I have to agree. Like, I didn't necessarily want him to be against Michael, but I think just one more like pop up of him towards the end, like maybe he just drives through the town or something like that.
Well, it would have been nice had they brought him back for. I think they intended to bring him back, but it would have been nice had they brought him back for 6. That he's hunting down the Cult of Thorn, and they combine in the Cult of Thorn. Like, if that would have been like he's hunting Thorn while he's hunting Michael, and they didn't realize they were the same thing.
Man, oh god, we're gonna get there. So
I know. So yeah. So anyway, real quick. So then Michael gets punted from the truck and falls into what looks like a graveyard with a mine shaft. The police and rednecks show up and unload $400 worth of ammunition into Michael. Michael takes it like a champ, and I mean, after transferring his essence to Jamie, because Jamie's stupid enough to go over there and touch him while he's been trying to kill her this entire movie. I hate that so much. He falls down. He's gone. They did shoot dropping the grenades or the dynamite. They shot that in Halloween 4, but they didn't use it. They ended up using that later on for Halloween 5, which I think helps a lot better how Loomis just goes back to the house and he's like, it's done, it's over. You would want a body. Like, you can't continue 5 without a body. So it's nice that they use those explosions in 5 to kind of help fill that gap. And then the end scene, man. The end scene is jarring and iconic and out of nowhere. I applaud them for being brave and doing something different. Danielle Harris was super freaky in that costume at the top of the stairs. And what's funny is this movie came out October 21st, and Danielle Harris on Halloween dressed up in that outfit and went door to door asking for candy. Crazy. Yeah,
this is probably one of the few, like, that very last scene like that is one of my favorite things, which is funny. When we make it to Friday 5, I can't wait to watch you go the other direction. But it really is a page out of Friday 5's book, just executed way gooder. And yes, I said way gooder. I I also have to say that when I watched the commentaries for this, like I said, when I first got DVD copies of things, commentaries, featurettes, everything. Hearing Danielle Harris talk about the fact that she did that on Halloween just made me like ecstatic, because how cool would that be? Like, I feel like she had to do that. Kane Hodder had to have gone out as Jason once for Halloween, right? Like, these things,
I would think
you
so.
start thinking about it, like how awesome. It's not just that you're seeing a Jason or a Danielle Harris, Michael kind of. It's actually them. That's awesome. That's so cool.
Well, and this the way they end it too, with the slow up the stairs, puts the mask on, the POV from the first movie. You know, you got like a psycho vibe. You got the H-78 vibe going on. Blood everywhere. Loomis has that mental breakdown, that screaming pain. Like Meeker has to jump in and like knock the gun out of his hands. What a great way to end Halloween 4. I mean, they were hoping that Alan was hoping that they would continue on with that, and so was Dwight H. Little, and they unfortunately did not. Can we talk about how awful Floor Mask is? We did, Jason. We talked about that in the beginning. Caleb gave a defense because it was a dollar, like a drugstore mask, which I also said that it was a drugstore mask in the first movie, but yeah, I mean, it could be a knockoff of a knockoff, you know, like they made this one-time creepy mask and then they reproduced it for Michael Myers. And then, like Caleb was talking about how, you know, sometimes the Tots masks are a knockoff of, it looks like a knockoff of the movie mask. So yeah, I buy it. It's fine. When it's in darkness, it's okay. When it's in light, it's absolute garbage. And the hair's terrible too. And then I didn't keep up the momentum in 5. I was okay. Some of the choices in 5 deal with it, but much better, I think. Yeah, it could have been much better. So the Halloween 4 wraps. It's a success. Like they say it's a success. Everybody was happy with it for the most part. Fans and critics were pretty happy about it. It had a budget of $2.5 million, and it made about $17.5 million. So the rule in Hollywood is that you need to make 3 times your budget to be a successful movie and to greenlight another movie, for the most part. Not always, for the most part. So what did they do? They greenlit Halloween 5 instantly. So they asked, not Alan Howarth, I'm sorry, I meant Alan McElroy, the writer, excuse me. They asked Dwight H. Little to come back and direct Halloween 5, but he was busy wanting to do his own project with an action movie, so he passed. He to this day regrets that because he was wanting to continue on the story of Halloween 4. And then they would go and they would find Dominique Othénin-Girard, who, to be fair, just like Alan McElroy, hadn't done a whole lot. Like, he had some filmography in his background, but not a whole lot. So, to be fair. And then, to be fair, Halloween 4 was written in 11 days. Halloween 5 was written in about the same. But the rush, you can tell the rush throughout the entire movie.
Should we rate Halloween 4 first before we dive all the way into Halloween 5?
Do you want to do that, or do you want to go through all 3 and then rate them?
I don't care.
Let's go through all 3 of them, and then we'll rate them.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll save the ratings for the end. So Halloween is fast tracked. Halloween 5 is fast tracked. It came out less than a year from Halloween 4, and same budget, had $5.5 million, had $500,000 more. She said, "Right now, we're gonna wait till the end. You gotta wait for the goods." Hang on. The only thing I don't like is the I don't like I can't read that, Caleb. What's going on here? Sorry.
All right. Got something.
Can you read Jason's?
The cliche titles of Return of Michael Myers and Revenge of Michael Myers. Yeah.
There it is.
So,
sorry, I don't like it.
Return fits because Michael Myers came back after his absence from 3. And Halloween 5 Revenge. It wasn't a good title. It wasn't a great idea. It wasn't. Yeah. So Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. John, take it away.
So Deb, I will message you my rating at the end, man. I'm sorry. I just want to save it for the end so that way you can go back to back and explain why they are for me. I feel like it'd be better as a climax. But so at Halloween 5, fast tracked, running around. We got Ellie Cornell to come back as Rachel. We got Daniel Harris to come back as Jamie, and away it goes. It opens up. You see Michael Myers going down into the water, and then you see him going down on the lazy river until he finally gets out, which I think is terrible. I think him crawling into the river is fine, and then just shoot him crawling out. And then, so anyway, originally they shot the Dr. Death scene where there is a guy called Dr. Death, and he does a voodoo thing to Michael Myers and brings him back to life. And then Michael Myers kills him with a huge rock. Which I prefer that a little bit more. Mustafa Akkad thought it was getting way too out there, but unfortunately the Men in Black wasn't getting too far out there. But and somehow in 5 the mask got worse. The mask, the shift from 4 to 5 is very, very jarring. It's also the mechanic outfit is different because it doesn't have that pop collar and the neck doesn't fit right. There's also a couple different masks because Don Shanks broke his nose, so he's wearing like a prosthetic, and then like they made the mask for one person, had to make it for another. There's a whole lot going on with the mask. We'll probably save the rating maybe later. You'll probably get my the mask information as we go, but we'll probably save that. But so they scrapped that. They shot the old hermit. Michael Myers lays there for whatever reason for a year until it's the next Halloween where he wakes up and then just immediately kills the dude that was taking care of him. Yeah, terrible. Then Jamie is a mute because they were rushing. They literally had no script for this movie. They were writing it every day. They had no complete script. It's amazing. So they wrote Jamie as a mute as a way to not write lines for her. They bring back Ellie Cornell, and they, like, after they introduce Tina. Oh my God, Tina. Let's talk about Tina for 1 second. Tina is hated by a lot of the fan base for a good reason. She has a voice that every dude makes when they talk about like a prissy, annoying hot chick. Oh my God, I just can't do it. I have to have Starbucks. I can't have anything but Starbucks. Store-bought's not okay. Like, she has that voice. It drives me insane. It is nails on a chalkboard, and they make you hang out with this character the majority of the movie. Horrible character. Not the actress. She did what she did, and she crushed it. But terrible. And then Rachel, as an homage to Psycho, they kill off Rachel super early. Super early. Daytime. Michael Myers is bebopping in and out of the closet, walking around the house. Like, he's not scary. He's just there. We've lost all feelings of, like, what makes Michael Myers scary. Like, he's not in shadow. He's not like lurking and creepy here. He's there and not there. We see him in full daylight and by the bushes while they're talking. Like, just a terrible, terrible thing. Donald Pleasance does what he can. I like that transition from 4 where he's freaking out to this movie. Feels real nice when you watch it back to back. It really does feel good. Go ahead, man.
I have to say, besides Loomis and Jamie, but even Jamie, because of the dialogue thing, this movie's characters are the most forgettable of the franchise. Like,
yeah, Michael with his car, and then the girlfriend, or the girlfriend boyfriend in the barn.
The cops and the music choice there. So the director, right? Yeah, the director had some ties to, I can't remember the exact type of film. God, I wish I could think of the word, but it's kind of like an Italian horror. It's a specific subgenre, and I'm kicking myself for not knowing the name. I've watched enough interviews and enough horror movies to know this, but that's kind of what shifted his character archetypes, his music cues, the styling of the homes, even made him comfortable enough to change the Myers house that much, and even go with using his face as a sculpt for the Myers mask. He felt that it was more in tune with the horror that he was comfortable with, which because it was so, and I'm gonna flat out say it, because it was so 80s Americanized, it's not scary. There's not horror. There's not. I mean, Halloween 4 is a teenage drama soap opera. Halloween 5 is just something.
Yeah, the Jason and Matt are talking about the cops dude. Yeah, he told them to be goofy and funny without being slapsticky, and so they try to ham it up a little bit, and then that stupid like, oh my god, dude, it makes me want to put my head through a window every time. Like, it's
It
so
makes me
bad.
it makes me think of oh god, I'm trying to think of the movie. It's a kids movie about a redheaded kid who's just awful.
Problem Child.
Yes, makes me think of Problem Child. I don't
Yeah,
know why.
yeah.
Every single time.
Oh
God.
my god, Deb likes Tina. No. She was carefree, living the moment, so mad in the woods. Yeah, dude. But in the middle of the movie, like in the first movie where Rachel's like, "Oh, I gotta watch after my adopted sister," but if Rachel really comes around, she's like, "How about we get ice cream? Double scoop, double scoop." Like in this one, like a mute gal who's like Tina, like she starts to talk. She's in danger. She's been through all this stuff. I gotta go. I gotta see my boyfriend. Like she just leaves her. She does redeem herself at the end of the movie, but god dang does it struggle
Yeah.
to get there. But so then we
Man.
kill off Ellie Cornell, which just kills me. Then you got these stupid cops. I will say though, for what they give Don Shanks, he does a good job. Like, he's at the mercy of being in the daylight. He's at the mercy of what they put him in. They originally wanted George P. Wilbur to come back, but Ethan and Gerard decided to go with Don Shanks. I don't really have anything against him. I have problems with everything around him. But yeah, I was so upset to see the cop do. I really felt the cops were there to help Jamie out the window. Yeah, it so bad, dude. Just so bad. Rachel was definitely killed off way too quick. It really was, like, and it was to set up the fact that, like, anybody could die and, like, what to expect next, but it just did not pay off. Did not pay off. We got Loomis coming back to say, well, in the fourth one, I forgot about that quote, dude, where he's like, I hope they would burn in hell, but in my heart, I knew that hell wouldn't have him. Love that quote in 5.
Yeah.
And then in this one, he talks to Sheriff Meeker, and it's nice to just get on board and go again. But
Yeah.
god dang, man. So then we go to the barn scene. We go to the Michael scene with the car where he scrapes him and he gets the pitchfork in the forehead, which is cool, but it's so in daylight and just rips me out of the feel of the Halloween vibes that I want. The barn's okay. Kittens, cats, there's a lot of animals in this movie. I don't know. The scythe is cool. The pitchforks, like,
The scythe is awesome, and I'm really sad that the Trick or Treat Studios 12-inch figure does not come with a scythe. That is a huge missed opportunity.
That is
huge missed opportunity. Because okay, in horror, one of the cool things is every horror movie has a staple weapon. Like, even if the character themselves has a staple weapon, like Jason machete, Michael knife, like, there's a particular weapon. Like Halloween 6, it's the axe. Halloween 2, you've got scalpel, you've got the needle, you've got options. It's just Halloween 5, you get the scythe.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that still frustrates me. I love that figure. That was a cool kill. A little bit too MPAA ate up, but
Yeah. Well, I'll give you the scythe from my 7-inch Scream figure, man. See how that looks next with it.
So I had that Scream figure and I took it out and gave, like, it's too small.
Oh, that sucks. All right, that sucks. She even had some comment about it, like, make good choices. I try to never do that. Yeah, I know. I get her character. Just it's just so jarring. It's just so jarring. So then, getting into more stuff about the movie I don't like is that Jamie's having a seizure. She's connected with Michael Myers now. With 4, it started with that. This, it carries over. She didn't kill her mom. She's mute now. She's having psychic connections with Myers. I hate that so much. The movie really does pick up, though, in the third act, where you got you got Loomis out there. It's like, Michael, go home, go where this started. Let the rage follow you. Like, it's another one of those like pleading with Myers. And then, but this movie though, and this is weird because I'm trying to like tell the story but blend it. This movie is just so horrible and so thrown together and so last minute that the people were in danger in this movie. Danielle Harris was like feet from the car. You got Don Shanks literally as Michael Myers driving the car and is going after Danielle Harris, who had food poisoning that day, was throwing up in between cuts. She's running away from this car. There's no safety anything. There's a car going and there's a child going, and they told her run between these two trees and go this path. Like, had she fallen, dead, possibly dead. Like, horrible. There's other scenes, I guess, where Mustafa's, I can't remember, daughter or granddaughter stepped in for Danielle Harris, but just not okay. It's just not okay. You had Don Shanks on an interview making a joke about it. Like, he actually Tina's character, she's running, she has that cape. She turns to look at the camera so the camera can see her with the headlights and everything. She actually got caught on the cape, fell down, and the car drove over her. And they stopped, yelled cut, and she's fine, but she could have died right then and there, man. Don Shanks, when he's driving the car, he hits the tree, it blows up. Like, Othen and Gerard is so excited about what he's looking at, and everybody's so like, wow, that turned out really well, that nobody yelled cut. And Don Shanks is in the car, not in a fire suit, getting lit on fire almost, before somebody has to be like, oh God, somebody needs to yell cut. Like, all three of those people could have died in this one scene.
And so, Danielle Harris got stabbed.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was going to say. They put her in the laundry chute later on, and they have it marked off where he's going to stab, and then she is going to be above that with no harness, holding herself up all day long, however long they shot for, and she actually got stabbed in the calf because they were using a real knife. Like, and there's a scene where she jumps out at the end, she's limping and she's bleeding. She's actually limping because she's stabbed. They used a fake leg for the actual, like, you know, her getting hurt, but because they cut out the actual stabbing part. But dude, just irresponsible, stupid stuff, man. Hang on, let's see. I hate the mute part of it. Yeah, dude, the mute part's so stupid that you had no idea what to do, so you just muted her.
It's ridiculous because it feels like they totally skipped watching Halloween 4 and taking the cues from where it would actually go, where it would go using Jamie as the evil now, or even, you know, you can still bring Michael back since fan favorite, but using her character in future films for a way like that. Instead, they weaked out of it and just were like, oh, well, instead of that, we'll give her this social connection, and because of that, she can't talk.
Right.
What?
Right.
Okay.
Dude, it's so stupid because Deb says, like, I don't understand how she had a psych connection, but didn't know about Rachel was going in until going into the attic. Yeah, they actually called back Ellie Cornell and needed her for that scene. Yeah, man, it's just one of those things. It's one of those psychic connections for convenience, for tension, where it actually leads nowhere. Same thing with the Men in Black. They had no idea what to do. They needed a hook. They needed some mystery. Apparently, from some accounts, there was some dude dressed in black that was always off in a distance, and so they used that. Dominique Othen-Gerard was like, well, my movie needs a little bit more pizzazz mystery, so they put the Men in Black in there. One big theory that it was going to be Michael's twin brother, and that's why Don Shanks is actually wearing the outfit in the movie. But it never actually led to that, as he didn't actually have any concrete evidence. He just kept saying, well, they'll figure it out in 6. He wasn't worried about it. He was just there to finish the movie and get his paycheck. But yeah, in the attic, you got Michael Myers is beast moding everybody. He's killing dogs. He's killing everybody. But all of a sudden, Uncle, let me see. You look just like me. And you got one tear running down your face. It just kills me, man. So then he thrashes around. Then you got that good scene. The cops are worthless again in this movie. It's brutal. I don't know. Like, there's police force presence somewhat in 4, but there's just not a whole lot going on in 5. Nothing worth anything anyway.
Yeah, another set of bad choices. Nowhere to go, so let's go into the cat. Yeah, so another movie filled with terrible, terrible, terrible choices. Like, I'm not saying that I would survive every single horror movie situation, but a lot of these are very. I can
I mean,
see why Tucker and Dale versus Evil was so easy to write.
right. Well, and it's one of those things too. Or I guess I mean, in the defense of that, I guess that I mean you saw Rachel die, you saw Tina die, or you see she's dead, you see Tina die. You're upstairs in the attic, you're cornered, you just throw in the towel. I guess I don't know. Like there's a couple good shots in the house with Loomis. You know, in the background there's the Cult of Thorn symbol. But it's lit a little loud, a little too light for my liking. The end fight scene though, like with the metal net falling on Michael and just beating him just over and over with a 2x4. Apparently, like they did that scene so many times that they had to have 3 different people swing the 2x4 because people were getting tired. I guess one time Donald Pleasance actually nipped Don Shanks in the face and broke his nose, and that's where they had to get that prosthetic put on and whatnot. But it's so funny. I love listening to little behind the scenes things where he's like laying on top of Don Shanks and he's dying, and he goes, "Now I get it. I abused you as a child." Just like little funny things where like you could tell Donald Pleasance was just done with it. He thought this was his final movie, so when he was done, he left, and he said he had a 40-foot trailer that was pimped out, had a bed in it. It was super nice. He said, when I leave, Danielle Harris gets that trailer. So Danielle Harris got that trailer. It's crazy that, I mean, she had her 11th birthday in Halloween 4 on the set of Halloween 4. She had her 12th birthday on Halloween 5. It's crazy, man. Like, and then like the partying stories they talk about where she was the only one that had the small enough arm to get into the locked liquor cabinet and steal out alcohol, and like the parties and like everybody's hooking up, having a good time. I'm glad everybody at least had a good time with Halloween 4 and 5, but it's just what a disaster.
Halloween 5, it's a really weird thing. I can't defend the movie. That absolutely no way, no how can I defend it. But I find a lot of nostalgia in it. It's one of the first VHS Halloween movies that I purchased. It's one of the few that was hard for me to get my hands on. So that's why it's one of the first VHSs I purchased. It took forever for me to see, so I remember when I finally did see it, even though I knew like this is kind of goofy and weird, like that build up to actually finally watch it was so big to me as a kid that I guess I turned that into a positive thing later on. Just if you turn your brain off, there's some cool moments. But there's still some cool moments. I mean, getting that garden, what is that? That little garden spike to the top of your head.
Well, and the car scene where like Othen and Gerard asked him, he's like, "What can you do in the car to convey anything?" Because he's in the brute mask, and he's like, "I'll grip the steering wheel." So the shot of him gripping the steering wheel is kind of cool. He can't kill her because he's got to have her lead him to Jamie. And I just love that he's like, "I want to kill her as soon as possible." Oh my God. So there are some little bit of moments in the movie that are okay. I said, the dynamite at the beginning really helps kind of that gap in Halloween 4. Loomis saves it with what he can, but man, then we go from the fight scene with the chain net and the 2x4. Loomis in this movie is dead. They go to the jail cell where you got you got Myers in the corner like playing with his chains. He kind of reminds me of like a monk with prayer beads or something like that. He's like, oh, like he's praying or something. I don't know, but they leave the mask on, and then you have Dick Tracy, Tommy Gunn, Men in Black going in there and just laying waste, and then you break out Michael Myers, and that's the end of the movie. Like, what?
And so the best part about that ending, about the Man in Black, about the Thorn tattoo, about the original Dr. Death scene, about all of the culty type things, they actually had no idea where they were going with any of it. None of it was actually tied together for the script. There was no, oh, this is where it would go for the next one. So all of that, and then you get the end scene of Michael being busted out of jail. First off, you happened to actually capture and arrest Michael Myers, and you leave his mask on, and he's just rocking in his cell. What? Secondly, one dude, I don't know, man. The ending's
brutal, man. It's absolutely brutal. It just is like, well, don't know how to do this. Dick Tracy kick in the door, kill everybody. I guess it's just absolutely terrible. I don't know, man. It had a $5.5 million budget. It doubled it for the 11.6. So it made money, wasn't necessarily a success. So it would take them 6 years to go on to Halloween 6. Excuse me. No, so it was 88, 89, and 95. So yeah, 6 years. Yeah, 6 years. I'm trying to find the frustrating thing is that the best parts of Halloween 5 are leftover pieces of Halloween 4. Like the characters are left over. The story's not there. It's the characters that you are kind of watching, and every turn you're like, oh, Loomis is like just ruined. Oh, Rachel's dead. Oh, Jamie's a mute. Like, oh, we have other characters we don't care for. The mask is jacked up. Like, the psychic connection just takes us even further. Like, it just really had no idea what it was doing. And that's one of those things where you could really feel the shelf life that, unfortunately, Halloween 2 with the family angle would be the spark that would end up declining the franchise, because you have Michael Myers. So it's one bad guy. You have Halloween. It takes place on Halloween. Always has, probably always will. And then you put the family angle in there. You really tighten down what's happening. Jamie Lee Curtis doesn't want to come back. You have to insert new character, kill off the olds unceremoniously, off screen. Hey, that happened. We're moving on. Hey, here's a cool character, Rachel. Oh, she's dead in the next movie. Like, oh my God. Like, and then this is also a franchise that, from that spark, you would come to see that every movie after that, every movie would crap on the ending of the previous movie. Every single movie craps on the ending. Some less, some more. But oh my God, does just Halloween 5 crap on Halloween 4's ending? I mean, Halloween 6, it craps on it even harder, I would say. But let's see, my favorite part was everything in the barn with the kittens and rolling in the hay in the farm. Lol. Yeah. Tool kill. Yeah. It was yeah. The barn's a good scene.
I have to say, the barn scene is cool, and I do find it kind of interesting that I feel like that house party is what inspired Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, the dance party there, the Halloween party. It's far better executed in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I said what I said. Dude, that Michael's brutal. Like, there's just it's no contest. That Michael is terrifying. But everything else in Halloween 5 is a miss. I can't defend it. I can't, but I get enjoyment out of it. And I think it's important to know the difference between how bad it is and how much I enjoy it. Like, if somebody wants to talk trash on it, absolutely, I can be right there with you. But there's some things that are just so nostalgic to me that, as bad as it is, I love it. Like, okay, like I was talking about, I talked with my brother about this, I talked with you about this. The Super Mario Brothers movie is a horrible film. Horrible. But I loved every single second of that movie.
But that movie's so bad that it's good.
No. That movie ruins the source material.
Yeah, really. But it quadruples down on being bad.
But it's so bad. It's so good. Oh my God. I love that movie. It's so terrible. Okay, sorry. Tangent. But yeah.
It was just the last thing. This would be Daniel Harris's last movie in the Thorn trilogy. It was really cool. She was not able to attend the premiere of the movie, so Mustafa Akkad sent money to her mother, and they rented out a theater, and she invited her friends, and they all watched Halloween 5 and thought it was the best thing on the planet. And we would just argue otherwise right here. Even Jason said that yeah, he's not a big fan, but let's see, he can still enjoy it too. He said the mask earlier looked a little Asian. Somebody called it Nicolas Cage. Ever since then, I cannot see anything else but Nicolas Cage. It has like the perfect recessed hairline and like a little bit crazy in the back, and it looks soulless.
Yeah, well, yeah, from what I remember, there were two, and I could be wrong on this, but I feel like the director and the special effects person both did a cast of their heads,
Right.
and they settled on the directors. And it also has that weird look too, because Don Shank's head was so big they had to split it like up to here, and then they put extra hair in so it filled in the back. So, and whoever was in charge of hairing it was not paying attention. Trimming the neck, everybody hates that. But again, there's something super 1989 about that just, as much as I hate it, it also works in a way. Well,
it's also interesting, real quick, is so we're going to get ready to transition into Halloween 6, but it was funny because Mustafa Akkad really wanted to capitalize on the just onslaught of horror movies that were just going nuts. Like, I would say the height of horror was probably 1984, 85. By 87, it was starting to go downhill. Yeah, I mean, it just is what it is. So by the time they got to 88, they had a hit for what they had. But then when they came back in 89 was a real tough year. You had Jason Takes Manhattan that didn't do well. You had this. It was just not a good year for horror. So that's also a big reason why. And then, trying to get a sequel when horror was almost dead. Like, there was not a lot of stuff coming out, big budget wise and stuff like that, that it would take them a while to get to. Multiple scripts. But yeah, Deb will probably, I wish you would have got Halloween 6 through, man. If you only had about 40 minutes left, there's probably, there's a lot to spoil, especially if you're watching theatrical cut. There towards the end, it also gets a little crazy in Halloween 6. Jason Takes Manhattan is a big old pile of poopy.
I love Jason Takes Manhattan. I love every second of it. But again, it's a bad movie.
Another psychic link. What is it with horror movies and psychic links, man?
Dude, Carrie ruined horror. As good of a story as it is, it ruined horror. Yeah. So I guess I should dive into Halloween 6. Wow. There's so much to cover with this movie. I almost said something really negative.
Try to keep it chronological for now, so that way Deb doesn't get too spoiled.
I'll start with the coolest part about the movie is that John Carl Beakler designed the mask. Who was in charge of the Friday the 13th Part 7 Jason costume. And let me tell you, that dude understood his assignment. The Halloween 6 mask was the first return to a scary mask since Halloween 2. Like, Halloween 4's wasn't scary. Halloween 5's is arguably creepy, but not for the right reasons. Halloween 6's mask is actually menacing. And he got that. He did it right. And if you look at Jason from Part 7, that is arguably the most menacing Jason. So he did it right. George P. Wilbur returned for something like 85, 90% of the shoots, and then somebody was like, he's a little thick. So they went with
Michael Leonard.
Yeah, Michael Leonard, who, depending on the cut, you get a little more of or a little less of. Here's the main difference. If the mask fits the face almost perfectly, you have George P. Wilbur. If it is about to fall off the face, you have, George P. Wilbur because of Halloween 6, not because of Halloween 4, but because of Halloween 6, worked his way up the ranks of some of my favorite Myers. This portrayal, he's again bringing back that kind of Terminator-esque vibe like Halloween 2, that just, I'm on a mission, I'm going, I'm not stopping. He doesn't do the weird things like in Halloween 5 where he's just like creeping around the bush or creeping in a closet, or he's just like, I'm going to walk here and you're dead. I'm going to walk here and you're dead. So, 2 cuts. Originally, the producer's cut was what was pitched, what was delivered. The Weinstein brothers, for better or for worse, got their hands on it and chopped the ever-living crap out of it. I don't know how much I can say here because I don't want to spoil it for you, but the 2 movies are vastly different in Jamie's story.
I think so. Deb's saying so far, Paul liking Paul Rudd's Tommy, but he's creepy. I don't get why he cares about the baby. I think the baby is something where it's like he was robbed his childhood. I think a baby's innocence, it gives him a sense of purpose. Michael Myers, puts him in there. I think I think he's a hero of sorts in that movie. I think it's an innocence and protector kind of thing. Okay, good. Well, there's 2 different cuts now. Matt, how did Jamie die?
Yep. How has she died at it? I guess I can dive into this real quick. It had a $15.1 million budget after the finances for Halloween 5. It did not do as well. I forgot to pull the numbers exactly, but it had a fairly low fan reception. 5?
It had a $5 million budget. It made 15.
$5 million budget made 15. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're
good. That right. Some farm implement they turned on, and
so you're watching the theatrical cut.
Yep, you're watching the theatrical cut.
Which
you're
is fine.
Watching the easier to digest cut. Yeah. It is. It's the rock and roll cut. The kills are far more along the lines of that, like almost a by the number slasher. You have a far more grunge, rock and roll driven storyline, music, look, atmosphere. The producer's cut is a little bit slower, has more of a score than it does a soundtrack, and uses, I don't want to give too much away to you.
Well, the producer's cut uses more of the original vibes, and it tones down some of the color and things like that. Yeah,
and also really tones down some of the kills because they wanted to go for story instead of kills until towards the end. They still wanted a massacre that you will see, but it's still toned down. Sorry, I don't know how far I can go.
Like I said, I would just go chronologically, like talk about like the beginning and then move forward, and then we'll just talk about it as we go. Like it really because it picks up from 5, depending. It picks up from 5, and you see Jamie go into the police station, and then you see she is captured by the cult of Thorn, and then you got the overlay, depending on if it's Paul Rudd or Donald Pleasance. Doesn't matter. Should have been Pleasance because it's Pleasance's franchise up to this point. But yeah, then from there you got a baby being born, and then the nurse helps her escape, and Michael's chasing her. Matt and Deb, we're going to finish it, watching it. We'll watch it. Hey, wait, Matt, are you still here? Matt, if you're still here, did you realize that baby is Michael Myers' kid? Did you realize that? Because that's what I want to talk. That's like the biggest, oh my God, what were you thinking moment of this entire thing. Like the guy who they got to, to write this thing had a Bible, and this is what you came up with.
Time out. So, after Halloween 5 completely destroyed everything that they had worked so hard to create, Halloween 6, they kind of did a fan hire for writer. And then they tasked the person with a deadline and were like, we need you to fix this. At the time, what is it, 1995 when it was written?
No, the Bible. He'd had a Bible since like Halloween 5 came out. So he'd been writing on what he thought, like the entire history of Halloween and where it could go. He had an interview with Mustafa Akkad, and he basically was like, "Here's my pitch. Here's all the information I have." Mustafa Akkad was like, "Thank you for your time." He left him the Bible, as he calls it, on his desk, and then years later, he was a very up-and-coming writer / fan of the Halloween franchise. So he's a very early on writer. Mustafa calls him like years later, like I think it's like 3 or 4 years later, and he's like, "Hey, we're greenlit Halloween 6. We're going to use your ideas. We need you to come in and get this done." So it caught him completely off guard.
Yeah. So how with that, he was taxed with fixing what Halloween 5 broke. And at the time, cult was like all the rave in the news and the media. Everything was a cult. Absolutely everything. So getting the idea of the cult with the baby and all that wasn't that far of a stretch. If it had been written today, it would be weak, which I'm sure Halloween Ends won't do much better. So I'm very forgiving of it because of the timestamp on it.
Yeah, but they did Danielle Harris dirty. Like, so she was not quite an adult. She emancipated herself, paid all that money. There was a pay dispute. Basically, they just did not want her for whatever reason. So they hired some gal who you don't even really recognize as Jamie. They used the part from Halloween 4, or from Halloween 5, and they spliced it in there. So hopefully she at least got some kind of paycheck. But it just brutal. As a kid, when I asked Matt that question, as a kid, I didn't realize that was Michael Myers' baby. As a kid, it wasn't until I was a little bit older. I was like, "Oh my god!"
When I was a kid watching the movie, I didn't either. What I focused more on was how menacing Michael was, the kills, and the fact that the story of the movie wasn't overly like, I don't know, it wasn't too full of itself. It felt very good with the time. Like it felt aware of when it was released, which being a kid of the 90s, like, yeah. Whereas like Halloween 5 was just absolutely bonkers and just didn't make logical sense. This was kind of tying up those loose ends. And I actually have the producer's cut playing in the background right now. Mama just jumped out a window.
H4, Deb gave H4 a 5 and H4 a 5 and H5 a 3. I like the kills. It was more fun. Out of 10, yeah, that's brutal, man. Yeah, that's pretty brutal. I mean, I get it. She's pressed to this. Yeah. She's seen 18. She's seen kills. To be fair, H18 and kills has a bigger budget, has better storytelling for the most part. I get it. I mean, you watch 1 and 2, and then 4, and then you just see the quality shift.
Yeah, absolutely.
Didn't like the story. Didn't care for Michael. Was after her. Didn't like. Yeah. I'd rather watch 4 than 1. I do understand 4. 4 would rather watch 4 than 1. I do kind of understand that because 4 has the same vibes while pushing forward and using some of the stuff you already know. So I understand that. I would never. I mean, it's faster paced. It's got more going on. I completely understand that. H4 is only a 5. Definitely the first. I like the first better. Yeah, no question. The first movie's better. I mean, but I respect your respect for 4. I'd watch 5 before watching 1 again. What? I mean, 1 is pretty like, it's pretty straightforward. Like you could remember it pretty. 5, if you just want to be like shocked at why that happened, I can get that too, I guess. I'd rather watch 5 than 1. That's so crazy. God, you guys are nuts. You guys are nuts. So then, so also, we talk about doing.
This is my resignation.
I know,
can't do this anymore.
It's brutal, but
God,
they did Danielle Harris dirty. They brought in a new actress. She was fine, but then they do that actress and they do Jamie Lloyd. They do her dirty.
Yeah.
Or just
So,
Jamie, you know what I'm saying? They do her Jamie. They do her dirty by killing her with farm. I mean, he
and
puts her on there and just it's brutal.
and there's like no explanation as to what really happened with. So nobody really talks about the decision in not bringing her back. It's almost as difficult to get to the bottom of as Kane Hodder not being reprised as Jason in Freddy versus Jason. It just like nobody talks about it. And it's so strange because Danielle Harris has never been quiet about her wanting to be involved in Halloween projects. Like whenever there's a new one, she's always been like, "Bro, I'm game. Like no matter how big or small the part, I'm game. Toss me in." And Rob Zombie listened for whatever that's worth. But then
Well,
again,
she wanted to be in 6, but they, like I said, she emancipated herself. They offered her like $5,000 or something, and she already spent more than that to be emancipated. Like she's like, I can't go there for that amount of money and do that. Like I'm sure she was offended, but I think she said that had she known, she still probably would have done it.
Halloween, H2O, and Resurrection, I believe that she had mentioned some slight interest in. 2018, she was shouting from the rooftops.
Yeah.
And Halloween Kills, still shouting from the rooftops. I think it's turned into a big FU now. But she's like, I don't care anymore. Okay, I guess the one was slow, but like the stalker randomness behind it.
Yeah.
Who he kills. 4 had some great moments, but not enough. I put it high and probably won't rewatch. I'm out. Going to finish watching 6. Okay.
All right, man. Matt, burn it down, man. Yeah, you go watch that and you let me know, man. And then the producer's cut, if you don't love H6, skip the producer's cut. Just go read about it or come back and watch this and we'll spoil all of it for you so you don't have to watch it. You only really need to watch producer's cut if you're a diehard fan, in my opinion.
Hi.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so the dumbest thing though is like they leave the baby in the bathroom. Michael Myers can find you when you're hiding anywhere, but he can't find a baby who's probably screaming. If my son wasn't like tired and fed and ready for bed, like my newborn was not going to be quiet. I just don't understand. There's blood on the floor. He was in the bathroom. He didn't go back and check the bathroom.
While I agree with that, while I do agree, it was the smartest move a character besides Michael has made in 2 movies where she did the dip. She tried to peace out. That was the smartest thing a character has done since Halloween 2. Like, you have to tip your hat to that. Like,
right? Yeah. Jason says no one else noticed that there was a baby there either.
That
especially me. In a public bathroom. Like people are always in there wrecking the public bathrooms. Like,
man, check out our old work, bro.
Oh my God! One toilet for like 25 people. Well, okay, really like 14 dudes. It was destroyed within the first 2 hours from the public.
And my building, we had 3 in the front and 3 in the back. That within 2 hours was wrecked. It looked like, I'm pretty sure, what Art the Clown would do in a bathroom. Like it is not right. Nor the blood trail. Absolutely. There's so many clues here. But
Paul Rudd listens to a tape and deciphers what's going on and where, and then goes to investigate and stumbles on it, dude. Brutal.
Paul Rudd in this movie is a gem, and I am still kind of sad that he didn't come back for Halloween Kills. I think I would. Huh?
He wanted to. He was contractually obligated for Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yeah, which is a far better film. God, Ghostbusters. Dude, the next movie you think about watching, don't. Watch Ghostbusters Afterlife. This grown man and every other grown man teared up.
I know. Spoiler. Like it's already been spoiled. That sucks. Which is fine. It's been long enough, but still. I know. I will get on it. I'm telling you, man. It's tough right now. I've been working extra hours and stuff like this. I've been working on this stuff, other stuff. I've been actually exercising. Like trying to do everything on my list and still watch movies is like so hard.
Go watch it. God, I loved that movie.
Yeah.
It had no business being that good for a requel, sequel, spinoff. Absolutely no business. Um, anyways, Paul Rudd did a fantastic job here, except for the fact that all of a sudden Tommy Doyle is a private detective, I guess. I don't know. This dude's got more stereo and PC equipment than anybody from '95 ever had.
I think he had to. I think he had to explain what was happening with Michael Myers, and he knew he was more than just human. So he was like, looking at the stars, going through like the listening to scanners. It kind of makes sense to a degree.
Oh, absolutely.
They wanted to get the original actor, but the original actor wasn't acting anymore and didn't have an agent, so they ended up having to go back. They ended up having to search and would go for Paul Rudd in one of his first performances.
When we get to Halloween Kills, we can cover the original actor drama.
Yeah.
Man, there's a lot there. But, yeah, so, baby, and now he's got a baby. Because now he's got Michael Myers' baby.
And then we introduced to another family, new characters we don't care about. Then it is thick. You got the stereotypical stay-at-home wife that's like, I do what I'm told or I'll get backhanded, and then you got like the most hated, like up until like Ronnie in Halloween reboot. That dude was the worst in the entire franchise. John Strode.
Absolutely
terrible.
I do. God, what's the brother's name? I really like him.
What does he call it? The slammer? Not Danny. Danny's the kid.
Danny's the kid. Oh, God.
I can't remember the brother's name.
I can't either. I want to say Paul, but that's not right.
No. Anyway.
Yeah, the brother's cool. He reminds me of, like, the class clown older brother that everybody, like, knew or was somewhat loosely friends with.
But like, he's so 90s, too. Like, he's got the 90s hair, the 90s clothes. He's like, I think it's cool. Like, when he's showing him, like, the creepy artwork that the kid's doing.
The Beavis and Butthead reference.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's a really good 90s character.
And I think that's why it sticks so well. Like, it takes you to a time. God, have we already... At this point, we've already seen the Man in Black kick a dog, right?
Kick a dog in the fifth one.
Kicked a dog in the fifth. What has he done by this point in this one?
In H6, let's see. He has... he was in the opening scene.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And Danny getting off the bus.
He has visions. No, that's in the Man in Black getting off the bus in the fifth one.
No. Or wasn't Danny walking and ran into him? Sorry, it
has been. No, Danny has flashes. He has nightmares.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyways, Man in Black is still not fully explained until the end of this movie, which is a very... We'll get there. So, where are we at? We've got the kid. We've
introduced the family.
Then we get into Dad is totally okay knocking his kids around, telling his wife that she's not good for giving the kid
money.
Yeah, which his death is very satisfying.
It really is.
So, God, sorry, I'm stuck in a chronological order right now. I've watched the movie so many times.
No, well, in between like the producer's cut and the theatrical cut, trying to remember the differences and keep going, it's really tough. So yeah, you've got the dad. He's outside. He's cutting down enough of this Michael Myers BS and like yeah. And then you've got the kids. They go to school. They talk about how the new gal, she's got a kid. The bastard kid. The kid's kind of like she's very young for having an 8-year-old, which is weird. It's just strange for the movie. Like you introduced that. Not that it's not strange for like life. It's just strange that you introduced that. They go to school. Then they got the radio show that they wanted. What's his name? Shoot.
Howard Stern.
They really originally wanted Howard Stern. That's where the movie really kind of kicks off for me. You got Michael Myers between going to this place where he's killing the DJ dude, and then you got him going back to the Strode house. The mom kind of dies in between. You know,
That's a really good. Her scene
that's
is
a really good Michael Myers scene.
absolutely amazing, and it's one of the most like. I feel like when people talk about Michael Myers kills, they talk about his chases, they make compilation videos of Michael Myers. That like scene is always one that's brought up. That axe and the white sheet and the fall outside, it's just it's it's the little details in that scene that make it feel very Halloween-esque, especially very Halloween in the 90s-esque. So again, I know I get very hung up on nostalgia, but it it felt like it was just perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Yeah. So before the mom dies, we reintroduce Donald Pleasance as Loomis. He's retired now. Jamie calls for him out on the radio. He's like, not dead, just very much retired. That's when the DJ was talking about him, though. It's one of those things where, like, so Wynn comes in and he wants Dr. Loomis to take over for him. But I'm like, dude, obviously this dude, he had a stroke in Halloween 5 to the movie. And then obviously this dude is older than you. He's using a cane to get around. This dude is not going to replace you to retirement. So even as a kid, I was like, I don't understand this point. So we reintroduced the Wynn with Donald Pleasance. Then they show up at the hospital, which there's no reason for them to show up at the hospital because Jamie's dead in the theatrical cut.
The last time we saw Wynn was the first movie, right?
We saw Wynn in the first movie, yeah.
Which feels like a very odd character to bring back. Like, I understand this was trying to give the connective tissue to make 4 and 5 work and all that, but that's just a weird character choice. And again, a weird choice to Loomis is going to be your taking your place when he's not looking too great. Like,
right. Well, I think the doctor that was in Halloween 4 when they talk about Myers' escape, I do think that's a different one. Anyway, so they pair together to go find Michael Myers. He tries to tell the mom to get out of the house, but she doesn't. Well, she tries. She calls John up. He's like, Deborah, whatever. So she's gonna leave, but then Michael Myers gets her with the axe. Yeah, Jason said how that scene, dude, that's perfect, like, shot of like just above the belly button, like just right here with the sheets blowing and like the sun is behind Michael. It's so creepy, like death has come to your small town, sheriff. Like, it's just such a good scene. And it's a smaller axe and it just looks so awesome in his hands the way he holds it. Such a good scene, man. But yeah, I mean the baby thing, it gets so juggled around and just all over the place. So they go to that place. Mommy, it's raining red. So he kills the DJ dude. The brother and the girlfriend are back at the house making out. Michael goes back to the house and kills both of them. And then the older sister, I'm forgetting her name. What's the older sister's name now? God, why am I forgetting her name? Kirsty. Is that right? Pretty sure. Jason, am I right on that one? I don't know why I'm forgetting her name right now, but with that, I do like how she's like, Michael's down the hallway. It's a really good scene where she's in the hallway backing up. She runs away. She's at the steps. Michael's right at the top of the steps. She hits him and he falls down the steps, and it's kind of a classic look of, like you were talking about earlier with the mom, like he's there, he's not there in the house, right? With the sheets, he's not there, boom, he's there. This is another nice callback where he gets hurt down the steps and he just lays there. And Danny's trying to walk over him, and Michael grabs him, and she hits him in the hand, and it goes loose. That's a fantastic scene right there. And then from there, with the Paul Rudd, Dr. Loomis being drugged, I don't know why they left him alive. I'm not really sure. I guess it was to pass the curse on. I get so confused at that part right there where, like, she throws herself out the window. They get the baby and her kid, right? And it's just I'm so confused why they left him alive. I cannot remember
Yeah.
why. The speech like the old lady gives that she was babysitting for little Mikey Myers on the night that he killed his sister comes out of nowhere. We didn't see a babysitter. Where was this babysitter in this tiny colonial home? Like, yeah, but the Halloween night when the spirits and all that stuff, and then Paul Rudd sees the body in there and the raining red stuff. Like, that was a really cool scene, the way that all kind of intermingled. So that was nice. And then there's that weird gap, and then they go to Smith's Grove.
It's a weird third act. So
It's so weird.
the movie itself so far has a decent flow, like suspension of disbelief, absolutely, but a good flow. The third act for both the producers and the theatrical cut, they go wonky. But that said, I thoroughly enjoy it. When you finally are getting to Smith's Grove, it's new and improved compared to anything that we would have ever seen or thought to have seen or been on the made-for-TV scene. And yeah, I can't remember what happens first there. You get Wynn making the reveal and the bad guy speech that doesn't fully make any sense either. It makes just about as much sense as getting Loomis to replace you. What?
Right. Well, that's the bad guy speech with Loomis, and he's got the gun on him, and yeah, he has to give the whole speech to him, and then Dr. Loomis gets knocked out again. Paul Rudd saves the baby, and then Michael's on the hunt for the baby, and then the mom and him, and that's where that jarring change from George P. Wilbur to Michael Leonard happens, where all of a sudden he's super skinny, and they're in the theatrical cut anyway. They're hiding in one of the doctor rooms or something like that, one of the operating rooms, and then Michael walks past them, which is a cool shot. Like it's really cool how it's shot with the hallway and the mirrors, and like he's so close but he doesn't see him, and then he goes down that room where they're all the cult is just in hanging out, and then like he grabs the little like scalpel machete and just goes to work on those dudes, and it's quick cuts and it's fast edits that's like almost like today's standards of like TikTok almost, you know what I mean? Like it could have been fleshed out a little bit better, but it's an awesome scene.
Yeah.
You don't get that in the producer's cut.
And the music with that, the just works so well. Like,
oh, dude, when he's chasing him down the hallway, that like rock and roll, yeah.
Yeah, it's weird that they were right to trim it down in some regards and absolutely wrong in others, but that is one that was totally right. That scene is amazing. That scene is great, and that scene is the most brutal Myers that we had up and until the remakes.
Yeah, and then it's running down the hallway was sweet. It's strange how they didn't want George P. Wilbur anymore, but they used him in that scene. Like it's very strange right there. I just don't understand why. Like, hey bud, yeah,
it's weird too, because they got rid of him for part of the shoot, brought him back for another, and then got rid of him again.
Yeah, like so weird. Well, and then with the final scene, they actually had to like Delta Force shoot it in a weekend where they weren't supposed to. So that's why it's the way it ends in the theatrical cuts. The way it ends, it's crazy.
And it's funny that George P. Wilbur, I've listened to him talk about it. He was like, was I a little sad that I got cut and then brought back and then cut? He's like, yeah, but that's just how show business works sometimes. You try not to get your feelings hurt. He's like, honestly, the best feeling was putting on that mask and being Michael Myers again. That was cool. Like, it's weird how oddly humble he was about it in that, whereas I feel like within the horror community, a lot of people talk about when they get situations like that, they're mad. I'd
be humble too if I was making $50 an autograph every 3 minutes. I believe the doctor he chases is the actual real father. No, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry, you are right on that. Wait, is that right? I always get confused because George P. Wilbur is in one of those scenes. Maybe I'm misremembering that. My bad. Maybe I'm misremembering that. But yeah, then we get the they corner him. They do the old switcheroo where Paul Rudd's standing there like holding the baby. You want him, Michael? Come get him. He's right here. Kind of reminiscent of Halloween 5 with Loomis at the end, where he's like using Jamie as bait.
Yeah.
And then he pumps him full of those like what we're assuming are tranquilizers. There we go. Had to put it in my brain first and say it. It was a hard one. And then he just beats the holy bejeezers out of him with a pipe.
Yeah.
And this is after but I do love the scene too. I got to say where Paul Rudd's trying to get her out of the little prison room or whatever, and Michael comes around the corner. He's like, he's just so screwed, and he has to keep going. And Michael's like slow creeping on him. He's slow creeping on him, but with a nice flow. It's not like in H2 where they really slowed down Dick Warlock. You know what I mean? Like it was a really nice flow. So I do like that scene as well. And then we switch gears to the producer's cut, which is just so weird with the runes. Like, and in one, you have Donald Pleasance. I have some unfinished business. He goes in, he screams in memory of Donald Pleasance. In the producer's cut, you have the runes where they can't get away. So he puts the runes around and then he gets Michael locked in there. You got wind coming by him. They switcheroo for some reason. Michael gets naked, gets him naked, switch gears. And then all of a sudden, Donald Pleasance has got the Cult of Thorn, and then he starts screaming. I don't understand what they were thinking. Like, what are you doing? This is not a good ending to. So, at the end of your movie, it killed the movie. Both of them killed.
That absolutely is attempting to capitalize on the evil transferring, which was the concept with Halloween 4.
Right.
But executed with a poor decision. Again, we're trying to give Loomis a title that at his age and at his legacy should not be involved in. He should not take over Smith's Grove, and he should not be the new evil or the new shape or the new what have you, like that the
new guardian of Michael Myers. Yeah,
that shouldn't be a thing.
I do like the full circle thought of it though, where he's like, like I do like that he has. I mean, not only has he lost everything, but now he's like the evil part of the evil he was trying to kill. I do like that sense, but just the way it's executed is just absolute garbage.
It's poetic, but it doesn't work for the nature of the Halloween franchise. But that said, because of how much I've watched Halloween 6, again, nostalgia. I've got a love for it. Halloween 6 is one of the ones that I actually found scary when I was little. And it was 1, 2, and 6 that I found scary. Those were it. And all for different reasons. But this one, just how unstoppable of a force he was.
Yeah, man. George P. Wilbur and Michael Leonard. My bad if I'm messing up his last name, but I actually prefer Michael over George. I just think like his shoulders, like he has kind of a triangular like body, like he has very wide shoulders, and then it just goes down, and he just looks like a wrecking machine, like a top heavy. I don't know. It's just something slender, creepy, but like football football like lineman shoulders. He just is so creepy, and the way the mask fits on him, I think it fits better on George P. Wilbur. But dude, just something about him, just it's intimidating, it's creepy. It escalates everything I like about Michael Myers, but it also like retains it as well. I love the look of him in that movie. And I like George P. Wilbur. I love the gray with the black shirt underneath. Love the mask. I think everything, like the way he moves, George P. Wilbur is a little bit more like Army, like to the beat, and a little stiff. Don Shanks, not too bad. They said act like wood through water. I think for that direction, that's all they gave him because they didn't want him to watch any previous Halloween movies. I think he did okay. I didn't care for Wilbur in 4 just because of the hockey pads and everything else. Like, his movements are okay, but everything else is just so jarring that it just rips everything good that he does away from him. But yeah, I actually do really like Michael Leonard quite a bit because H6 is amazing. That's why you love it. Caleb's got a lot of love for it.
I do.
Yeah.
But it is a very problematic entry into a franchise that started out as one escaped patient stalking and murdering babysitters.
Dude, this movie had a lot to juggle. It had figure out the cult of Thorn. It had figure out what to do with Jamie. It had inserting a new kid, Danny, taking over for Michael Myers, sacrificing a baby born from Michael Myers, reintroducing Donald Pleasance when you didn't need to, giving him a purpose when he didn't need to, like giving him nothing to do but screen time. Like he was wearing out in Halloween 5, and he was really worn out in Halloween 6 to the point where he freaking died before the movie premiered.
Also, with Halloween 5, that ending is to signify that he's dead.
Yeah.
He's dead. So Halloween 6 is just like and forget that part happened.
Right.
Like, that was the deal, that he died trying to kill the evil and failed. Like, that's probably the most, again, I'm using the term, but the most poetic part of Halloween 5 is he went out fighting.
I mean, I think for the movie that we got, it's amazing that it ever saw the light of day, with Dimensions fighting with the Akkads, with the recasting, with the story all over the place, with the 2 different cuts. I mean, with the 90s, Scream hadn't come out yet, so it hadn't revigorated everything. Like, we really got lucky that we got to see it at all. The producer's cut was dead up until like 2014 or something like that when the box set came out. There were some bootlegs, but for the most part, it was dead, and they had no interest in doing it.
I was so mad when the box set came out and they were like, this is the only way you're ever going to get a copy of the producer's cut. And then you're sitting there and you're looking at them and you're like, holy crap, this is a lot of money. And then all of a sudden it pops up in the $5 bin at Walmart and you're like,
right.
What?
Right.
What?
And then you can sell it. And then you can sell it for $65 like I did.
It dropped again.
Well, yeah, it did, because they just announced the 4Ks. Yeah,
it's like $8 again.
Yeah, that's why I'm glad I sold mine when I had the chance, man. I used to have a bootleg, he says, and then Jason says the mask, the outfit, the kills, the setting. Yeah, man. All the good things in this movie are universally loved, for the most part. Like, all the shining moments.
So, as we've been going, I've kind of been sharing my first experience with, or a notable experience with the film, just to kind of tie it into my life. This isn't my first experience with Halloween 6, but it is one of the earliest and one of the funniest, in my personal opinion. This is back when it's in a time when Netflix was mail order.
Oh, man.
So, Blockbuster didn't have Halloween 6. Hollywood Video didn't have Halloween 6. Nobody around me had Halloween 6. I couldn't buy it at Walmart, Best Buy, anywhere like that. And it was before you really trusted, like, buying things on the internet, especially me being, like, 10 to 12 years old. I didn't know what was what. My parents had signed up for that Netflix, so we ordered Halloween 6. And what was it, like a buck a movie or something like that back then?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And there was no return date. So I never returned a DVD copy of Halloween 6. And then when my parents closed out that account, I think they owed something like $35 to replace it.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. So, but I wore that DVD out. Oh, man, I wore that DVD out.
Yeah, I remember a friend of mine, Jason saying, I remember a friend of mine owning it before me somehow, VHS, that is. Yeah, I mean, we had when I was a kid, we had a store called The Bookshelf, and you could rent movies from there. It was a little bit cheaper than Blockbuster and stuff like that. They had 4, 5, and 6. And like I said, with 4 and 5, dude, like, even as a kid, I thought, like, this was a drop in quality, just from filmmaking wise. And I just, like, a lot of it, I just couldn't figure it out. And then I got confused with 5. I was like, wow, we are really just going into some weird territories. And then 6 had so much going on, and there's gaps in there that you don't even realize. You're like, something's missing. You don't even realize that they just don't have scenes in there, like that they don't actually connect here and there. Like, the flow is so off, like, and it's jarring with like the flashy edits, the how they edit the quick cuts, the rock and roll, the ending kill scenes and stuff like that. Like, the whole movie leaves you like, wow, that was an action adventure. But there was so much happening. There's so much coming at you, so many different thoughts, and I just was like, as a kid, I just remember thinking, it was brutal, it was crazy. I just don't know how to feel about it because there's just so much coming at me. I think it's pretty clear that I have H6 at the top. I always go for the Unstoppable Killing Machine. Yeah, he's super. Yeah, I mean, but in that defense, though, a big negative for me is the idea of the cult controlling Michael Myers. Caleb and I have talked about this before. How I would have liked to have seen it is kind of like a shield, you know, like was it the Thunderbolts or whatever from Marvel? Anyway, like, you have a group that doesn't necessarily interact with Michael Myers, but he like stops the cops from arresting him. He gets things out of his way. He delivers people he needs to kill. Like, just helps Michael Myers as he goes. Like, I think that would have been a great way. Like in 5, with like Dr. Death knew where Michael was because of that. And he resurrected him or something like that. Like, put them in there a little bit more as an active role rather than controlling Michael Myers. Like, explaining Michael Myers in this movie, like that it's, you know, he has to kill all the members of his family to pass the curse. Otherwise, an onslaught of horrendous events will happen. Like, all the people in the village will die. That kind of thing is just. I mean, it's an explanation. It's just not one I was asking for. And like, you want him to end his family line. Why did he have to have a baby? Like, he had to further the line. Like, what happens if he would have killed Jamie Lee Curtis? Like, was he gonna have a baby with Jamie Lee Curtis and then have to kill that baby? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, to transfer the curse of Michael Myers. So this is something that instantly has to, and it's going to Danny because Danny's in the house. Like, I mean, the Michael Myers house is believable enough in this movie, much more than it is in Halloween 5. I forgot to talk about Halloween 5's house, really. You brought it up, but like, I buy it for the setting. They needed a bigger house for the setting. The house is cool. Terrible, though. Looks nothing like the Myers house. Absolutely terrible. I actually buy it more in 6. But yeah, there's just so much going on, dude. Like, when you break it down, H6 is it's a terrible story. It's just terrible. It's all over the place. It has so much going on. It doesn't actually know what it wants to do. It's just throwing stuff at the wall. Like, we have to chase the family storyline. Now we have to chase the cult. We have to chase the Man in Black. Constellations. Like I said, it's just all over the place. Just all over the place.
It's with Halloween 4, as much as they wanted to bring Michael back, because of what happened with 4, 5, and 6, technically, from a storyteller's perspective, it was a huge mistake. But for me, I get a few extra movies to randomly enjoy and talk trash on. Halloween 6 is one of my favorite sequels. It just is. I have a lot of fun with it. It's one of the most intimidating Myers. You get a cast that is better than, in my opinion, the acting and the quality of acting is so much higher than Halloween 4 and 5.
I'd give you 5.
Besides Danielle Harris, it just is. Loomis isn't necessarily my favorite here because I feel like he doesn't need to necessarily be in this movie. Like, I will never complain about having Loomis, but it just feels like he's forced, especially for a movie that's going so wild with the story and instances and
yeah, man, it's brutal. I mean, this is the movie that literally killed the franchise. They did want to continue with H7 before Jamie Lee Curtis. It was going straight to VOD. because of this movie. They were going to continue it. I mean, so that's something, I guess. I don't know how they were going to, but I don't know. I can't remember how. I'd have to dig through my brain. But yeah, man, let's rate it. You want to go first on Halloween 4?
Halloween 4. I've said it many a times. I said it earlier. This is arguably one of the best Halloween sequels. And I am going to go a 7.5.
Yeah.
Yeah. It loses a lot of the heart from the earlier films. It tries to do something different, but it is still, in my eyes, a little bit too much of a teenage drama, soap opera style film.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the opening. I don't like the fact that he's got like an 8-year-old niece that he just didn't know about until the ambulance driver tells him about it. I don't like the kill off Jamie Lee Curtis and the dad in a car crash. It's so stupid. Like, yeah. I'd buy it more if she was actually in hiding in H2O. You know what I mean? And they played on that. I'd buy that a little bit more. I don't like the psychic connection in 4. I don't like the mask a lot. Like, there's some good stuff in it, but I would give. There is some good stuff, man. I'm gonna give it a 7. I'm going to give it a 7, yeah, with in mind that I gave Valentine a 7 because I want to put it actually a little bit lower, but I can't put it lower than Valentine.
Absolutely not, because you'd never live that down.
Yeah.
Halloween 5 is tough for me because, again, nostalgia, but if you notice, 99% of the things both John and I said were absolutely negative. So I'm going to give it 2 separate ratings. The first, for nostalgia, is a 5.5 out of 10. I have a fun time watching it. But from an actual film, from an actual being attached to the franchise, from connective tissue, characters, story arc, it is a 2.5 out of 10.
Whoa. Whoa! You really went there. You really went there. Oh. Man. So you went 5 for nostalgia. For everything else, for story, you went 2.5. I'm just going to give it a solid rating of... I'm going to give Halloween... I'm going to give Halloween 5 a 4. I'm gonna give it a 4. Overall, wow. 4. Like I mean, it's watchable. It's enough to where it's still Michael Myers. It's just a shadow of who he was. Loomis is carrying it as best he can. I hate the psychic link. I hate Tina. I hate that she's mute. I hate that the house doesn't match up. I don't like the cops. It's just brutal. The ending is horrible. Like the mask is okay, but it's terrible too. Like Ellie Cornell's dead in the first like 10 minutes. Like it's just the opening is garbage. Like he just sits there for a year and gets back up and goes. Like why don't you just have Michael like slowly get up, like maybe limp away into the woods out of the river, and then he just comes back. Like what? I don't understand. It's just terrible. I'm giving it a 4, and that might be a little aggressive, but I feel like it's pretty good right there.
I feel like it's generous. And yeah, dude, 2.5. I stand by it.
Yeah, man, it's bad. It's a bad movie.
It's not good. It's not
anything
good.
Below a 5 is a bad movie.
But that said, I have a lot of love for it. I mean, I had the option to buy Halloween 4, Halloween 5, Halloween 2018. And 1978 Trick or Treat Studios figures. I bought the Halloween 5. Like
that's crazy.
That's love. I have a love for it.
You watched 5 over 2 and 1. You are crazy, my son. You are nuts. Like that is. I mean, I'm glad there's love out there for it. I just couldn't pay the $37 for 4K. I will probably never buy it unless it comes on some super sale. I'm not going to buy the 3-pack. We're going to talk about that later, though. We'll talk about it when we fade out. But yeah, man, 5 is just it's bad. Like it ruins characters. It's pointless. You can delete 5. If I told you one sentence, you can delete 5, go straight to 6. It's not really a compliment for 6. It's not really a compliment for 5, but you can delete 5 and go straight to 6. Oh my God, H1, man. I don't understand how you hate the first Halloween that much. It's crazy. You need rock and roll. You need action. You need Michael in your face killing people. I get that. I do get that. I hear you. All right, man. H6.
Well, should we rate both cuts or just as a general?
I think let's rate. Man, that's tough. That is tough. Hang on. Let's say which one we prefer, and then let's say which one we prefer, and then you rate them. And give me a quick blurb of why you prefer it, and then rate them both.
So if you would have asked me 3 years ago, I would have said I preferred the producer's cut. You asked me today, it's the theatrical cut. Personally, for the theatrical cut, so much more. Just the pacing works better. The music works in the film's favor. The Smith Grove scenes are awesome. So I gotta go with that. Now for ranking, am I ranking just the one I prefer or both?
Do both. Do both.
Okay. So for the theatrical cut, I'm going to give it a 7.
Okay.
And I feel that's very generous. I think it's not deserving. It doesn't deserve that high of a rating. And I love the movie.
I think Jason's giving it a 10. I think he's giving both a 10. We'll have to see. Sorry, man. Go.
For the producer's cut, runes don't make sense. As cool as an idea as it is. That said, the dialogue and the voiceover and the narration is so much better.
Right.
But it's a little bit more of a chore to get through, so I'm going to go 6.5. So just half point less.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm going to repeat a 7 is blasphemous. I'm with you there with what you said about the theatrical and the producer's cut, like how it works, like the music and stuff like that. I think some of yay, Deb, they just finished part of the theatrical 6. Heck yeah, man. Deb, we are just now we're just now rating it. We get Caleb gave Halloween 4. What was that? Sorry. At least H6 is a 9. Ooh. That's crazy, man. I don't know about H6 being a 9, but I respect your rock and roll Halloween vibes for that. Dude, that was horrible. That's awesome. We got one that loves it, one that hates it. I love it. No, Caleb, Caleb, go ahead and do your ranking again real quick for H4, 5, and 6s.
4, 7.5. And that it's just a better quality sequel overall. Some of the things that I take away from it are it plays like a teenage soap drama. It really takes a reach. Halloween 5, I gave 2 ratings. One on nostalgia as a 5, and one on a real rating as a 2.5 out of 10, because let's just be honest. Halloween 6 is one of my favorite Halloween sequels. I tend to prefer the theatrical cut, and I give it a 7. And the producer's cut, I took off half a point, so 6.5.
Yeah, for my H4, I gave it a 7, and that's pretty loving because I really hate that they had to reinsert new characters, get rid of Jamie Lee Curtis, and I hated the connection, and I just kind of I hated the difference in shift. I really didn't like all that in Halloween 5, and so I gave that one a 4. So for H6, I agreed with Caleb with the theatrical being a little more pizzazz and like all that, and then the producer's cut. It also has some positives, but I don't like the runes. There's too much. It jumps around way too much. It feels like some scenes are missing. Dives in the next scene. Loomis is dude. That's what we were saying earlier. It's like we were even trying to remember it in between the producer's cut and theatrical. The theatrical has a lot of missing scenes where they're just like, man, and then move forward, and they just skip stuff so bad. So, but yeah, it's really hard to follow, and it's really chopped together. We did talk about that quite a bit on the editing. H4 is a 6, 5 is a 5, and then H6 is a 3.5, bumped up 1. Yeah, dude, I prefer the theatrical cut. I do like the rock and roll vibe. I like the ending much better. I like the hospital scene. I loathe the producer's cut. I saw that. So my rating though, dude, man, like I talked about before, this movie had so much going on. Donald Pleasance that went nowhere, didn't need to be there. The kid that's transferring Michael Myers' powers, the baby that he has to kill, Jamie Lloyd is being killed, all this different stuff, the runes, the Men in Black, the cult. I hate Halloween 6. I said it. I've been waiting this whole time. I hate Halloween 6. I love the rock and roll. I love the mask. I love certain things. Everything that's good is good, but the story and what they do to Michael Myers is absolute blasphemy. I hate Halloween 6. The producer's cut makes it even worse because it just expands on everything I don't like. I'm going to give Halloween 6 I'm going to give Halloween 6, God, I'm going to give it a 3, and I'm going to give the producer's cut a 2.5. I can enjoy it, but when I think about the story and the characters, it makes me want to throw a chair out a window. It makes me want to go to Petco and slap every puppy they have. I hate Halloween 6 for what it did. It destroyed it's terrible. It's an absolute garbage pile piece of poop. 5 can be boring and it can poop on a lot of stuff, but 6 went off the rails, snorting way too much cocaine that was left over from the 80s. 6 is absolute garbage.
You ranked 6 lower than 5. Like,
I did.
Everything. That's I'm offended.
Michael Myers rapes his niece. He impregnates his niece. Like, can you imagine in 1978 and 81 that Michael Myers would do that to Jamie Lee Curtis, to Laurie Strode? No.
Well, I have one line for you. Evil dies tonight.
No. Halloween Kills is a masterpiece compared to H6. Dude, I've been dancing around H6 when I talk to you for so long because I was waiting for this moment to burn it down. The more I think about H6, the more I hate it. I hate what they did to, everybody.
I'm interested to see for our next video because I feel like we're going to pair H2O and Resurrection. So I'm really interested in how you're going to rank Resurrection in comparison to this, because although this does all the cult and does all that, Resurrection kills the better story. Like, it just does.
Say that Halloween has a better story than Resurrection has a better one than Kills.
Well, no.
Sorry, man.
So Halloween 6 kills what happened with 4 and 5. Halloween Resurrection kills what happens with 1, 2, and H2O.
It does.
So it kills the better story. So I'm kind of interested to see your take on that once we get there.
But yeah, well, we'll get there. But like I said, the characters, the story, like you can you can show me a great scene. That's a great scene. That's fantastic. It has nothing to do with the story. The story matters. Characters matter. Dialogue matters. Like, a cool scene can only go so far when the rest of it is a huge dumpster fire.
Kills
Hang on,
is
man.
easily my favorite I've watched so far. God, that hurts to read. H2O is a snooze fest. How can you hate 6? H2O is a better movie than H6. It is.
Now, hang on for spoilers, because Deb and Matt have not seen H2O Resurrection. We will get there. I'm super excited to talk about those. We're going to do those next week. Yeah, man, I loathe H6. Like, I enjoy, what's so frustrating, man, is I do enjoy it. Like, I can turn off my brain and I can watch the screen and I'm like, I like Michael Myers right there. He looks cool. Oh, that's kind of cool right there. Donald Pleasance, good to see him again. Like, the fight scene at the end, I'm like, yeah, that's a cool fight scene. But it's moments of coolness, but when you break it down, it's absolutely just trash. It's just trash.
Yeah.
Oh man, am I the only one that cares less about the story in Halloween movies? Man, you have to care. The character of Michael Myers violating his niece, being controlled by a cult. Like, if you want somebody just tearing through people, go watch a Jason movie. Like Jason has very little character. Michael Myers is all about the absence of motive, the absence of personality, and these movies just wreck it. Like I said, the family spark, or the family angle, it only goes so far. And when you have to do a movie with Michael Myers on Halloween with the family angle, it just puts you in a box that you just can't do a whole lot with, especially if you want to do it in Haddonfield. Let's see. Kills is the best in the franchise.
No.
Next week, Deb, you need to watch Halloween. H2O is next, and then Resurrection. H2O takes place after Halloween 81, so Halloween 2. It deletes 4, 5, and 6. They originally were going to do a connection without Jamie Lee Curtis, but she signed on as it was the 20-year anniversary. She liked the script. She liked the payday. So she would come on for Josh Hartnett's first movie. So it ended up being theatrical. After H6, it was destined for VOD, but thanks to Jamie Lee Curtis, she saved the franchise again. Get your blanket, you'll be fast asleep. Okay, I mean, the incest angle didn't ruin it. Why is the mass murder okay? But that's he doesn't care. Old happened to mess up, but not. Man, I'm sorry, man. It's mass murder is okay because that's what Michael Myers is like. He was building towards throughout the whole first movie. In the second movie, he's let off the leash and he's going for it. Like, it's just not in his character.
I'd be less likely to believe that Jason had a kid. Okay, so.
Well, Jason has anyway, we won't go there.
No, he does not.
I know, he doesn't either. It's not. But anyway, it's like I said, Deb, man, there's just so much going on in H6 and none of it comes to full fruition. There's never been a sequel to it. It's Donald Pleasance died right out or during the making of the movie. It's terrible. And I love him.
Yeah. I feel like I think there's 3 or 4 different write-ups on a sequel to H6 that if you ever are interested, I believe you can get them downloaded pretty easy. But it's really easy to get tied up in what could have been. Like, the gentleman from We Watched a Movie, they dug into all of these scripts at one point or another and did quick reviews on them. And they get wonky. I think there was a draft of the H6 sequel that was so nuts. I remember listening to it and they were talking about this group of people at a party wearing hockey masks and Pinhead was involved and I was just like, I don't even know what's going on anymore. Right. I mean, this is wild.
Well, this is also around the time where they were trying to do Jason versus Pinhead. That was an actual script that was out there, and John Carpenter was actually kind of on board with it, and Mustafa was like, "No, we're not doing that." So, yeah, it's H2O next week, baby. Real quick, Jason, while you're here, will you be picking up the 3-pack 4Ks? Caleb, I'm assuming you probably won't be because it's outrageously priced.
Yeah, $100 and some odd for 3 4Ks with some cool posters. I'll
I mean,
pass.
technically 4 because it comes with a producer's cut.
To be
4
honest,
movies.
of all those, and I looked at the posters, the only poster I really want is the resurrection. Like,
Yeah.
it's cool to see a resurrection like build up of Michael on a cool poster. Like that's just cool because I think he looked good in that movie.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah. With this one, I like that it's got Michael Myers'
yeah,
house.
exactly.
Yeah,
100 plus
120 is
bucks.
ridiculous. But yeah, this one's got Michael Myers' house, and then that one's got Haddonfield Memorial, which is really cool. And it's just they're cool posters, but yeah, I'm there's no way $120 for. I mean, no, like that pack right there, the 3-pack right there is like $14 on Amazon or eBay. Like it's $14, 120. I just don't understand the
No,
markup.
absolutely
And
not.
H6 producer's cut, I can't imagine that's going to look good in 4K because it doesn't look good on the Blu-ray. Like there's some stuff that's like shot in like 480p that's stuck in the 1080p.
I will say if they got the okay to go back and fix the mask in H2O for the
They won't.
4K, if they did though, and they put the Winston mask in all the scenes, I would be okay with that. Like I would want to watch that movie.
Right. I would buy that separately. I would buy that separately. Like from somebody on eBay. But yeah, they won't though because they didn't fix the mask in H4. Like you had you had the time to do it in H4 and you didn't do it. So I don't know. I don't go. Let's overcase it for Blu-ray 4K. Well, that's cool, man. Yeah, I mean, especially these old horror movies. Sometimes you don't need high definition. It was. I think high definition actually hurt the 78 mask for me, and it actually helped a lot for the 81 mask. So it was really interesting as first time watches on ultra high definition. But like on the bush part with like Michael standing out there with a bush, I never realized that his hair is like this, and it's a lot, and it's a bad shot when you see it in like ultra high definition. But yeah, man. So let's see. Is there any other news? Oh, Prey apparently is getting really good reviews. Super excited about that. It's
Really
out this weekend, I believe. I am excited.
I have plans. I am planning to try and watch it either Friday, and if I can't watch it Friday night, I'm gonna watch it Saturday night. So if I don't get to watch it Friday, I am probably going to leave my phone on silent in a different room until I can watch it Saturday. And so if you try and get a hold of me, if you're somebody watching this, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully I'll be able to watch it. It probably won't be till Sunday night, but the Batgirl apparently was irredeemable, so it got canned $70 million from what I saw down the drain.
It wasn't necessarily that it wasn't redeemable. It's that WB Discovery merger DC thing. They started axing projects left and right. This one was next to completion, which makes the least amount of sense to me. Whereas they also cut, what was it, Gotham Knights. They cut a couple of horror movie titles from HBO Now.
The Flash is also the series. The Flash is canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rambo Blu-ray set was the last one. Yeah, I got that one too, man. That's a good one. Rambo 4 is my third favorite movie ever, by the way. Nice. I do love Rambo 4, dude.
I need to go back and watch it. That is a brutal movie.
It is. When I was watching it, I watched it with my wife when it came out, and my wife was so funny. She was like, "Do bullets cut people in half?" I was like, "Yeah, that's a 50 cal machine gun cutting people and blowing their heads off." I was like, "This is so awesome." But yeah, dude, Rambo 4 is amazing. Yeah. I think they're doing a short, like eight episodes or 13 episodes of The Flash. Then it's done. With Batgirl being canned, they were supposed to be going to be discussing the Flash movie with Ezra Miller, as Ezra Miller is a turd from all accounts. I'm assuming that they're either going to go over and refilm his scenes, or they're going to either just put it out there and just call it a day. Like they're not going to just walk away from it. But this also hurts some of Ben Affleck's stuff. It also hurts a little bit of Michael Keaton's stuff. Ben Affleck apparently is in the new Aquaman for some reason. I just don't understand. I did watch the Supergirl. I watched first season or two. It was actually better than I thought it was going to be. But for me, it seemed like WB, Arrow, Flash, season 3 is where the height was. 4 was okay, and then it just face planted so hard. I was kind of done. I'm giving Daredevil another try. Freaking love Daredevil, man. Some of the best fight scenes ever, especially the Punisher in season 2 with the prison scene. Yep. Oh my god. I'm trying to think of anything else. I don't know. Apparently the ending of Halloween Ends is out there, so people be careful on YouTube and stuff like that. Spoilers, of course. Like, I don't know. Anything else, man, you can think of?
Not that I can think of. It is late, and I am exhausted. That's all I got.
I'm surprised Jason didn't tear me a new one for tearing Age 6 a new one. Like, look, it's so weird. Like, it's a love-hate thing. Like, I can watch it and enjoy it, and sometimes I'm looking forward to it. But when I sit there and think about it, it just enrages me. I could go on about your, dude. It's you can't, like, I won't argue awesome moments. You can't argue the story like that. I'll give you the awesome moments, but you're like, story doesn't matter to you, so it goes up. I get that. Story matters to me a lot, so it goes down. But it's a 3.5, 4, whatever that I can actually I can watch. So it's weird. I don't know. I love hate, but it's not as boring as 5. But anyway, if you guys are watching, we really appreciate it. Deb, Matt, I'm glad you guys watched it. Yeah, let us know down in the future. Check us out on Facebook. We go live usually Thursday night. Next week, H2O and Resurrection. Oh my God, I'm looking forward to this so much. I got my projectors set up in the other room for H2O and Resurrection. I just think they're better and a lower quality. I'll give my reasons for that next week. A lot of history and fun stuff with that. It's all preference based. Yeah, man, I hear you there. Thanks again, though. Hopefully I'll upload some other videos too. Hopefully I'll get this one sooner than later. Thanks again, guys. We're out of here.
Peace.